True healing starts when we stop expecting other people to be who they are not and to do things that they simply do not or cannot do. We've been talking a lot about grief and loss and trauma on this channel because in December, my dad passed away. And then just a few weeks prior to that, I experienced one of the most traumatic experiences that I've experienced in my entire life. And I'm trying to navigate both experiences. I've been doing a lot of journaling, just thinking and reflecting. And I guess one of the benefits or the good things about going through a loss of a relative is the fact that in theory you have your family with you who are grieving alongside of you. So you're not necessarily grieving alone. You have a lot of comfort and support and people who really identify with how you're feeling. You have that all around you to help you navigate this traumatic loss. But there are so many different types of grief, right? Not only may it be the passing of a loved one, you may experience things like the loss of a job, the loss of your spouse, the death of a relationship. There are so many things that we as humans experience. And when we experience trauma that just impacts ourselves, so perhaps it isn't the loss of a family member, perhaps it is a stillbirth, or it is the loss of your job, or the loss of your financial stability, you go bankrupt, or whatever happens, there are some traumas that you just experience by yourself, and it's just solely you navigating it all. And your friends and family are almost looking from the outside, looking at how you're dealing with it. And oftentimes they don't even know what to say to console you, to make you feel better, to support you. Sometimes they say the wrong thing completely, and sometimes they don't say anything at all, which can be worse than them saying the wrong thing. So navigating trauma, loss, and grief is so difficult. And the complexities are added to it when the people around us, so our friends and family, they don't grieve in the way that we expect them to. So for example, if it is, a loved one that has passed, your siblings or your remaining parent, your aunt, uncle, they may not be as impacted by this person's passing as you expected them to. They may just be carrying on as if everything is okay, like nothing major has just happened. They may even dismiss your attempts to show your true feelings. They may not contribute to the funeral arrangements, for example, or support you financially or help you move house, or in all the ways that we expect people to support and be there for us. They may deeply fail in their responsibilities, and their lack of attention, consolement, and presence, it may shock you. You may feel abandoned, alone, and even disappointed in them, like they've let you down. These are some emotions that I've had to navigate recently. Just the sheer feeling of betrayal from some family members, from some friends, people that I thought would be there for me were not there for me. People who I thought would reach out to me and, regularly check in, see how I'm doing, check if you're okay. That didn't happen. Some people just leave you feeling quite shocked and bewildered how poorly they've executed their role as friend, as sister, brother, aunt, uncle. It's quite shocking. And we're having to process those thoughts of abandonment and betrayal in addition to the loss that we're experiencing and the trauma that we're having to navigate. And it's It's a lot. It's a lot. And this is where ego comes in to the whole grief process. Because when we experience loss, trauma, we place expectations on other people. We expect them to grieve in a certain way, to be affected by what's just happened in a certain way. We expect them to be here for us in a certain way, to console us, to comfort us. And when they don't respond in the way that we expect them to, when they don't feel the emotions to the extent that we expect them to, it's shocking and it takes us aback because we never expected for them not to be there for us and not to give us the comfort and love and support that we so truly need during this time. It's like they let us down. It's like, what's the point of you even being in our life if you can't even execute your role of friend, uncle, aunt, brother properly? Like, what is the point of you even being here? These thoughts, these feelings are so, so real. And it all comes down to the ego. The fact that we place so many expectations on other people of how they should grieve in certain situations, in how they should perform their role of mother, father, sister, friend, of how they should be here and available to support us, to comfort us, and to console us. I spent a few weeks feeling incredibly frustrated towards certain friends and family members because they failed me. They didn't check in on me. They didn't call me. They didn't come to visit me. They didn't reach out. Some of them just texted once and then I didn't hear from them again. They basically didn't meet the expectations I had placed on them in terms of how I thought they should and would show up for me. I was looking for someone to validate me and my feelings. But when these people don't show up for us in the way that we want, need, and expect, it really, really impacts us. It makes us question our relationships. Like, were they ever truly a friend? Did our friendship mean anything? Does it mean anything to them? We expect those around us to know when we most need their support, their love, their check ins, their texts. But unfortunately, not everyone is empathetic and emotionally intelligent. And it's natural for our egos to feel offended and for us to feel like, you know what, I'm just going to drop this relationship, this friendship. I'm going to have nothing more to do with her. Our ego is constantly searching for that understanding, that validation, and it has that sense of fairness of what is right in the situation. And when people don't do the right thing, when people don't show up and support you and check in on you, we feel a deep sense of wrong, like they've wronged us. And it's very hard for us to believe and come to terms with the fact that these people that we thought we were once close to have so deeply let us down, and they haven't been the friend, the mother, the father, the sister, the brother that we need during this time. The ego makes all of this feel like it's about us. The ego makes us feel like that person doesn't truly care about us, whereas actually their behavior or lack thereof is merely a reflection of them. It's a reflection of their ability to feel and to be comfortable with emotions. It probably has nothing to do with you. So we should try and take this less personal and also open the space to forgive that person for not being the friend, the mother, the sister that we needed. We also need to be wise and realistic because oftentimes the ego expects those people around us who haven't previously shown us any love, attention, comfort, condolences in the past. For some reason, the ego expects those people to suddenly be all up around us, to be here with tissues, flowers, to be texting, ringing, coming to visit. But it doesn't make sense because these people have never been the people that we needed them to be in the past. So why all of a sudden, just because we're going through a certain experience, will they suddenly show up and become this different person? If they've never been able to be emotionally available for us to the extent that we've needed them to be in the past, it doesn't make sense for us to expect them to be here for us now. So we also need to teach our ego what is realistic to expect in situations like this. And when we feel like our ego is seeking for validation and consolement in other people, we need to remind ourselves that we can offer these things to ourselves. And if we don't feel like we can in this moment, we can look for these things in other people, in other sources. It may be via reading the Bible, it may be via signing up for therapy or speaking to other people in our lives, giving other friends, other relatives the opportunity to show up and be that present support and consolement that we need. So, in this experience of grief and loss that I'm currently going through, I've had to do a lot of teaching my own ego. So, becoming aware of when I am placing expectations on other people of how they should be grieving, how their lives should be impacted by certain losses and traumas that we share. I'm also willing to face some unforgiveness and bitterness that I have been storing towards people that haven't shown up for me in the way that I wanted and needed them to recently. And I'm trying to dispel that and just let them go. And I'm reaching out to them as opposed to waiting for them to reach out to me. Even though my ego feels like, oh, like, why am I doing this? I'm the one hurting and grieving. They should be reaching out to me, not me reaching out to them. But I'm trying to lay my ego to the side a bit and reminding myself that everyone's operating from or with the ability that they have, and their ability to read the room, think of other people, show empathy may not be to the degree that I have. And that's different, but it's okay. I can't and shouldn't, like, it's not fair for me to expect other people to show up in the world the way that I show up in the world. It's just not fair for me to expect other people to be the perfect friend, be the perfect relative. That's my ego talking. That's me placing my own expectations on them. And I just have to release that and let them go. And when people disappoint me, when they don't show up for me in the way that I need, when I feel betrayed and alone, and when I feel like distancing myself from other people, I again have to check my ego and just make sure that it's not overclouding this experience and taken away from the thing that truly and really matters in this moment, which is the person that I've just lost, or the friendship that you've just lost, the relationship you've just lost. The ego makes other people's behavior feel really personal, so that the things that they are doing or the things that they are not doing, we internalize that and interpret that as if they are doing those things to us. Like, they are not calling us, texting us, checking in on us because they don't care about us, as opposed to us realizing that that is a reflection of their own capacity to fill and hold space for other people. That may have nothing to do with us. That may be because they're going through their own challenges, or they have an extremely busy schedule. They don't simply have the capacity to think about other people and to spend time putting themselves in our shoes and thinking like, okay, how must she be feeling right now? Or he's just gone through this. I wonder if he's doing okay. It may not have anything to do with us or how they feel about or towards us. It may simply have everything to do with them. But our ego, it gets offended by their behavior or the lack thereof, and it takes everything personally. And that's what I'm trying to get us to move away from in this video. I'm trying to get us to realize that actually this isn't or may not be about us, but it may have everything to do with them. The fact that your aunt or uncle didn't show up to your mum's funeral, or they completely ruined the day and made everything all about them, that may have nothing to do with you. The fact that your friend hasn't called you and hasn't been checking up on you the amount of times you expected them to be doing, that also may have nothing to do with you. But the ego makes everything about us, and it seeks ways to get offended. And if it looks closely enough, it will find a way or something to be unhappy about, to be offended about. So we really need to check ourselves. And when we realize that we're taking things too personally, or we're making everything about us, or we too are starting to lack the ability to see things from other people's perspectives, to put ourselves in other people's shoes, despite everything that we're going through right now, if we're starting to notice that we're not able to consider what other people may be going through themselves, that is the ego. And that's when we need to bring our ego, like rein it in a little bit and bring it under control. This video is not to downplay what any of us are going through. It's not to pretend like your experience isn't real or doesn't matter. It does matter. All of us are validated here, but the ego is a part of ourselves that sometimes it clouds everything else and it makes everything about us. And that can add weight and heaviness to the trauma that we are already experiencing. So the ego can sometimes make all of this worse. And that's why it's so important for us to reflect and to bring it under control. True healing starts when we stop expecting other people to be who they are not and to do things that they simply do not or cannot do. Just remember to constantly check yourself. Check when you notice that your ego is constantly over-seeking that validation, that understanding, and that sense of fairness and justice, because when it's in overdrive, that's when we start to add more trauma and pain to that which we are already experiencing. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate every one of you, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.